So a little background around this chakra and how it kind of relates into Maslow's hierarchy. So taking a look, this sort of fits into, if you look in the top right-hand corner, this is the chakra around love and belonging. And when we look at Maslow's model, love and belonging, it's like friendship, intimacy, trust, acceptance, receiving and giving affection and love, affiliating, so being connected and just being, right? And then it sort of also ties in a little bit with esteem needs, right? And those things like self-esteem, the sense of achievement, mastery, independence, status, so which has to do with our self-esteem as well, dominance, so power, prestige, and in Maslow's model, it talks about managerial responsibility. So looking at this chakra, it's located between our navel and our solar plexus. It is represented by yellow, which is really much connected to the sun. The sun is really sort of believed to be a manifestation of this chakra. If you're feeling balanced, you may feel energetic, strong, confident, you have a strong will. You may feel balanced mentally. You may feel confident in your body and your health, and you have an increased sense of activity. If unbalanced, you may be feeling things like guilt, lack of energy, weakness, fatigue, low self-esteem, worthlessness. And then physically, this is our metabolism. This is where our digestive system is. And so we may feel some issues in those areas. So I live with IBS. So usually when I'm unbalanced, I can experience some of those symptoms. And then in the same respect, when I'm feeling physically unwell, it can actually tie into my sense of self. And so as I was putting together some information, the following are some simple concepts relating to the development of the third chakra. So the idea of breaking inertia. So do something different. If you're hyperactive, be still. Breaking boring, repetitive patterns and choosing to challenge ourselves. Avoiding invalidation. So criticism from those who don't understand our situation can be more detrimental than helpful, especially if we're sensitive and we take things to heart. Breaking attachment. So energy that's directed towards something that isn't manifesting energy is energy that's essentially blocked or hung up, caught, or otherwise useless to us. So if we've put a reasonable effort into something and it's not working, a good way of developing this chakra is to just try to let it go. Increasing our information. So knowledge is power. And the more that we learn, the more we can do and the fewer mistakes that we make. So this, leads directly to our sense of self, our sense of esteem, our sense of knowing, right? And being able to ground ourselves. And then self-care. If we don't, no one else will. So we know what we want and we need better than anybody else. And if we care for ourselves, it decreases our need to get outside of us. And then I was just sort of making some notes, and I sort of mentioned it a little bit earlier, but just again, that idea of like when we're talking about the root chakra, it's really about representing what we are and our physical matter, right? When we look at that sacral chakra, it's really about the things that bring us pleasure and the things that we desire. And looking at it from a very like primitive lens, um, like with men at least, it's often said like we're thinking with the small head instead of the big head, right? So that's that drive, that thing that really kind of motivates us to a degree. And then this is where those two things combine, and it's sort of said like, just like if you rub two sticks together, it will create a spark. And so this is the chakra where that starts to take place. So those things that we need and those basic needs that we have now spark in, and this is really the area of our body um, where we start to see that motivation and how we connect to the outside world, and how the outside world connects to us, right? So all of those things can have an impact. And then just on the side, looking at the chakra and the idea of healing, right? So looking at things like what we can do to make us feel brave, journaling for our self-confidence, releasing emotional pressure, challenging ourselves physically, so not staying stuck physically, not just laying down and letting go, but actually moving and building our inertia and momentum. And then the idea of like, Dakota mentioned at the beginning, having that sort of fear of fire, right? But so, what are ways that we can interact with fire and be around it that feel safe to us? And I love the idea of like lighting a candle, for example, learning something new, setting goals, of course, taking one small step. So again, it's really easy to get overwhelmed. Making time for rest. So Scott's a perfect example, of feeling under the weather. So making sure that he gets to build up his rest and strength. And then listening to something motivational. So, something from a trusted source, of course, right?